Steelers Nation, what's going on, everybody? Before we dive into today's massive update, let me start by saying something that has become crystal clear inside the walls of the UPMC Ring Sports Complex. This team is working every single day to improve, to correct mistakes, and to bring the results that Pittsburgh deserves. The players know it. The coaches know it. And if you believe in this team fighting to get better, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button right now so this video can reach every member of Steelers Nation. Now let's get into today's exclusive story, because this one could shape the rest of the 2025 season. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense has been one of the biggest question marks of the 2025 season. Nobody expected that one of the highest-paid defensive units in the NFL would struggle with consistency, communication, and overall execution the way they have through the first 10 weeks. Yes, there have been bright spots, Cam Hayward playing inspired football, Derek Harmon dominating inside, and Keanu Benton continuing his rise as a foundational piece. And yes, Omar Khan has made adjustments, including the recent additions of cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. and safety Kyle Duggar, both of whom immediately strengthened the secondary. But let's be honest, the job is far from done. And today, Steelers Nation, we've got a major development. The Steelers have a real opportunity to add a Super Bowl-winning defensive lineman to this roster, Kalin Saunders. The 29-year-old tackle was just released by the Jacksonville Jaguars, as reported by Tom Pelissero, and because this move came after the trade deadline, Saunders is not treated as a vested veteran. That means any team can claim him, and if he clears waivers, he becomes a free agent who can choose where he wants to sign. Pittsburgh should absolutely be in that conversation. Let's talk about who this guy is. Saunders isn't some end-of-career journeyman. He's a former third-round pick of the Kansas City Chiefs, and more importantly, he knows what winning football looks like. He knows what elite chemistry looks like, and he knows how to execute in big moments. Remember that explosive interception return back in 2024? That was vintage Saunders, powerful, instinctive, and disruptive. Last season with the Saints, he played in 13 games and started 10 of them. His numbers? 43 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 passes defended. Those are strong numbers for an interior lineman. But Jacksonville barely used him this season. They didn't know how to deploy him, and it showed. Only 2 games played. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, knows exactly how to use a player like this. Imagine pairing Saunders with Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, and Harmon. That's 4 legit interior forces rotating, staying fresh, and keeping pressure up the middle, something this defense desperately needs late in the year. But here's the problem. Because as much as Pittsburgh might want to add Saunders, there's only one major obstacle in the way. And that team is the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore needs defensive line help. They are below Pittsburgh in the standings, which means they have priority in the waiver order. If they want him, and there's every reason to believe they might, they could claim him before Pittsburgh even gets a chance. It would be a classic AFC North gut punch. Because adding Saunders isn't just about depth for the Steelers. It's about patching a real weakness in the front and preventing a rival from getting stronger. Omar Khan has been aggressive all season long. This is another moment to strike. And while Saunders would help the front, the truth is adding bodies won't matter if the defense can't trust one another. Earlier this week, Cam Hayward made headlines when he publicly stated that players do not trust each other on the field. That wasn't just surprising, it was shocking. You almost never hear captains say something like that. After Thursday's practice, Hayward clarified his comments, but he didn't walk them back. He said the issue isn't personal trust, it's assignment trust. Players hesitating, players thinking too much, players abandoning their gaps, players trying to be heroes instead of doing their job. He laid it out clearly. Quote, "You gotta know this guy is going to be in this gap, so I can be in this gap. If you don't trust that, you don't have a strong defense," unquote. This is exactly why we've seen Peyton shoot the wrong gap, Juan Thornhill covering nobody, miscommunication on deep passes, missed run fits, blown coverages. This isn't a talent problem, it's an execution problem. It's a discipline problem. It's a communication problem. And with 7 brutal games remaining, including 4 divisional matchups, there is no room for breakdowns. Every single opponent left on the schedule has the firepower to put 30-plus points on this defense if they keep making mental mistakes. The Dolphins, the Browns, the Bengals, the Ravens, even the non-division matchups present serious challenges. This team loves its splash plays, the interceptions, the sacks, the forced fumbles, but splash plays can't be the culture of the defense. The culture has to be clean assignments, smart football, trust, discipline, and physical domination. And if the Steelers want any chance of making noise in January, those habits need to start now. Adding a player like Saunders could be a step in the right direction, that communication and trust must follow. The Steelers' 25-10 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers was one of the roughest performances of the season. Offense couldn't find a rhythm, defense couldn't control the line of scrimmage, Kamani Vidal ran straight through the Steelers for 95 yards and a touchdown, and Justin Herbert barely broke a sweat reading coverages. But what shocked fans even more was the lack of dominant moments from the stars of this defense, especially T.J. Watt. Now let's be fair, Watt wasn't invisible. He finished the game with a sack, 2 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 3 QB hits. But in the moments where the Steelers needed a takeover performance, a Watt game, it didn't happen. And according to insider Mark Kaboly, there's a reason for that. Kaboly went on 93.7 The Fan this week and was asked a simple question. How would you grade T.J. Watt's season so far? His answer was surprisingly honest and surprisingly optimistic. He said, quote, "I think he's getting better as the season goes on. Those chips are not easy to deal with. I think he could be better, I think he's gotten better, but he needs one of those monster games, and I don't think we've seen that from him yet," unquote. Let's break down what Kaboly is actually saying here. Teams are game planning their entire offense around stopping Watt. We're seeing double teams, we're seeing tight ends chip, we're seeing running backs help. Some snaps we're seeing 3 bodies committed to slowing him down. Watt is improving week by week. With all the injuries, coverage busts, and miscommunication issues around him, Watt is still producing, but he's not dominating. And the Steelers Nation knows exactly what that looks like.
Here's the truth. T.J. Watt's stat sheet doesn't tell the full story. He's disrupted plays that never show up in the box score. He's created pressure that forced bad throws. He's eaten blocks that open lanes for teammates. But this season, that's not enough. Because the Steelers' defense has been too inconsistent, too unreliable, and too dependent on game-changing turnovers. Watt's best games this season? Against the Packers, 6 combined tackles, pressure all night. Against the Patriots, 2 sacks. Against the Vikings, that impressive interception. But none of those games were the signature Watt performance we've seen in years past, the kind where you feel him on every single snap. And that's what this defense desperately needs right now. This is the most important point of the entire story. When the defense forces multiple turnovers, Pittsburgh wins. When they don't, they collapse. It happened against the Chargers, it happened against the Jets, it happened against the Ravens earlier this season. This team cannot rely on turnovers to survive. You can't build a defensive identity around luck, bounces, and tips. You need stability, you need structure, you need domination. And right now, the Steelers are 1 step late, 1 communication error away, 1 missed assignment away from disaster. And Watt knows it. Just a few weeks ago, he publicly called out the inconsistency within the unit. He said flat out that the defense isn't executing with the discipline required to win. So here's where we stand. The Steelers have a chance to add a 2-time Super Bowl champion to a defensive line that desperately needs depth. Baltimore could steal him first. Cam Hayward says the defense needs to fix trust issues immediately. and the remaining schedule gives Pittsburgh absolutely no room for mistakes. Now, I want to hear from you. Should the Steelers claim or sign Kalin Saunders immediately? And do you believe this defense can fix its communication and trust issues before it's too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to be reading every single one. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't leave without hitting that like button and make sure to subscribe so you never miss a Steelers update. Steelers Nation, I'll see you in the next one. Here we go.